On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast, Tesla leads the way as EV sales outpace the rest of the automotive market for the month of June. The Tesla Semi prepares to hit the streets in Europe. Cybertruck's FSD timeline gets a new update, and more. What's happening, friends? I'm Ryan McCaffrey, joining you, of course, for Ride the Lightning, your weekly Tesla unofficial podcast. This is episode 473, publishing on August 25th, 2024. At my feet below me, Mina, the future service dog puppy. To my left, Daisy the Boxer. Everybody's chilling for now. We'll see if that lasts for the entire recording of the podcast. I wanted to start this week with a fun little accessory for a vehicle I don't own yet, that I just got in the mail today. I've got it in my hand here. It's off of Etsy. Somebody 3D printed these, and they are Cybertruck door grabbers that go on the inside of the door jamb. So when the door is open, like if you're getting out of the car and then you want to close it, you can grab onto these on the inside of the door jamb without having to grab onto the stainless steel and fingerprint it. So I thought somebody had posted this on Reddit, and I asked that Reddit user for a link, which they kindly provided, went to the Etsy shop, and bought two pairs, obviously, since there are four doors on the Cybertruck. And you just wipe down the stainless on the inside door jamb there with an alcohol wipe to make sure it's a prepped surface, and then you stick it on there, and you've got yourself a nice little door grabber to help reduce fingerprints. So if that is of interest to you, I can't comment yet on how well it works, but again, it was recommended by some folks in the Cybertruck community, in the Tesla community. Feel free to email me or DM me or whatever, reach out via social media or email, and I'm happy to pass along that link if that is something that you might be interested in as well. Sticking with Cybertruck to kick off this episode, Tesla has quietly removed the no resale clause from the Cybertruck purchase agreement here as the Foundation series is clearly winding down. I saw this on Teslarati, who writes, Tesla appears to have removed a policy banning the resale of the Cybertruck, as spotted this past week in the EV's sales agreement. Some ex-users pointed out that Tesla had quietly removed the no resale policy from its sales agreement, which penalized, blah, blah, blah. You know the deal here. So this is no surprise at this stage of the game, because by the time general production starts in a month or two here, there just won't be a scarcity of supply anymore that would really be driving scalping. Is there a long waiting list for the Cybertruck? Absolutely. But in terms of true scarcity, which we had in the very beginning, the first several months at least of production, yes, scarcity was a real thing. People were very willing to pay premium prices, and Tesla was trying to keep that from happening. But now production is ramping. The general production regular price version is imminent, and scarcity is just not really a thing in the sort of sense that we don't need a no resale policy. Tesla doesn't need a no resale clause anymore. And though this clause had been in place for the entire, we're at 9 months now that the Cybertruck's been on sale, it also clearly hasn't been enforced for the past few months by Tesla, as there have been plenty of auctions out there, plenty of Cybertrucks being sold, and Tesla is clearly not penalizing anybody for it. So the last really big unanswered question about Cybertruck reservations is soon to be answered, one way or the other, because now that we are at this end of the line for Foundation series, and again, this is me speculating just based on everything I've been talking about over the last few episodes. Tesla is an unpredictable company, and for all I know, they could keep Foundation series going for the rest of the year. It doesn't seem like there are enough buyers to sustain that with the production rates that Tesla is continually increasing to week after week after week, but don't take what I'm saying as total gospel, just my best educated guess here that the general production orders and deliveries are going to be imminent. So, if that is indeed the case, we are going to get one of these last major unanswered questions about Cybertruck reservations answered, and that is, will Tesla honor that $7,000 FSD pre-order price that those early Cybertruck reservations could lock in, or at least could select on their reservation? Lock in implies that Tesla will 100% honor it, and we don't know that. That's the whole point here. We're not sure if they're going to honor it, but as I've said before, I think they will, especially now that the regular price for FSD is only $1,000 more at $8,000. And as I've said, it would be a nice way for Tesla to say thank you to the people on the reservation list that by the time their turn comes around here for general production, they'll have been waiting roughly, maybe give or take a month, about 5 entire years, November of 2019, and we're now in late August of 2024, and by the time general production starts, it's probably going to be at least late September. So it's been a long wait, and the people that have been on the reservation list the longest, you could fairly say that they were the most excited because they put down their $100 deposit right away on that night of the reveal and honoring that $7,000 price, thus giving those people that $1,000 off. It's the right thing to do. It's the goodwill thing to do. And I think Tesla will do it, because if they didn't, I just don't think the backlash would be worth it for Tesla. Because yes, they have good, solid salaries. I don't want to contextualize it because I don't know what they make, but the Autopilot team that has continually worked very hard on Autopilot and FSD, they all have to be paid. They all have to be making a living. But for all intents and purposes, the price of FSD is all gravy to Tesla. There's no extra hardware that's involved. So in a sense, this isn't completely accurate, but for all intents and purposes, Tesla they're not going to lose anything really if they're pricing set the FSD on those pre-orders, those early pre-orders at $7,000 instead of $8,000, the regular price. I wanted to make this the subject of this week's Patreon poll, which again, you can vote on every week on my Patreon page, found at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. Patreon spelled Patreon. You do not have to be supporting me, backing me, anything on Patreon. The poll every week is free. I just want you to stop by, vote in the poll. I like having a large sample size for these, and I indeed got that for this one. So this week's question was simply, do you think Tesla will honor the $7,000 FSD price on early Cybertruck reservations? And 71% of you share my optimism here, voting yes, Tesla will honor the $7,000 price on early Cybertruck reservations. A quarter of you, 24%, saying no, everyone will have to pay the same $8,000, and 5% were undecided. So most of you feel the same way I do about this, and hopefully we will get the final answer to that in a roughly, again, I'm going to guess we're going to know the answer to this in about a month or so, because that's when I think general production orders are going to start. Deliveries are another matter. Whether any deliveries from general production squeeze into Q3, meaning by September 30th, maybe it could happen. For me, it's obviously pure speculation sitting here in my chair, but I think at worst, it's going to be October for the first general production deliveries, as I've said before. Speaking of Cybertruck, as we move along here in episode 473, we've got another update on the timeline for FSD's long-awaited arrival on the stainless steel pickup truck. Tesla's Autopilot team lead Ashok Eluzwami posted on X to say, quote, Cybertruck will start with parking assistance features, given that it ain't exactly the easiest vehicle to park. Initial release is slated for the end of this week, meaning I'll just interject here for a second. Hopefully by the time you hear this, because I'm recording on Friday evening, so as I'm recording, it's the end of this week, and it hasn't dropped yet from what I've seen, but hopefully by the time you hear this, that first parking assistance feature has dropped. And then ASOC continues saying, FSD for Cybertruck expected in September, end quote. Well, we've gone from June to August to September now on this, which unfortunately is typical for FSD timelines, but I suppose I would optimistically say this. For me, overly optimistic transparency, which Tesla's been giving us, is preferable than Tesla not saying anything at all until the FSD rollout to the Cybertruck actually starts. Because let's just think about that for a second. Can you imagine how much more frustrated both, especially Cybertruck Foundation Series owners would be, but also the rest of us in the greater Tesla community would be, if Elon Musk and ASOC just never said anything? Which a lot of companies, by the way, that's how they would handle it. They would just stay completely tight-lipped until the software was actually being delivered. So if Tesla had just never said anything, and this entire time, right up to as I'm speaking to you now, we just had no idea. Tesla had just been tight-lipped, not said anything about when Cybertruck's going to get FSD, and those Foundation Series Cybertruck owners out there right now were just left wondering if they were ever going to get what they paid for at all. So I think, therefore, the communication that we're getting is preferable to that, even if the timelines have not yet held. I would rather that than just complete and total silence. And at least the Park Assist is something to start making all of you Foundation Series Cybertruck owners whole here in the very near term. Again, hopefully by the time most of you hear this. Also, this still gives the Autopilot team time to get FSD onto the Cybertruck before those general production deliveries begin. And I would have to imagine that, I'm not saying that June and August and now September weren't real deadlines. I have every reason to believe Tesla, to believe Elon and ASOC when they said that they fully intended for Cybertruck to get FSD in those months, and it just hasn't happened yet. But we know that, without having to be software engineers ourselves necessarily, that this is a really, really big problem to solve. Even though the software exists on Tesla's other vehicles, the other 4 cars, the Cybertruck's a different beast, and it's a totally different steering mechanism, both in terms of the steer-by-wire and the rear-wheel steering. It's just a physically much larger vehicle, which, for all I know, that may alter completely how it has to be set up and validated and tested. So, but I have to imagine that even though they fully intended to get the FSD onto the Cybertruck in June and then in August, and now hopefully it's going to be September, that the ultimate fallback deadline was, we have to get this done in time for general production deliveries. Not that I'm saying that they're going to ship something that's unsafe if it's not ready. That there's no definitive requirement that says that when general production deliveries start, that FSD has to be there. I mean, people were buying FSD in 2016 and 2017 and me in 2018 when there were no FSD features whatsoever. So I'm not saying that it definitely will, come hell or high water, there will be something on the Cybertruck when general production starts, but I have to think that's the fallback deadline for them. That's the fallback target, but hopefully they'll make September. Okay. Before I keep moving with this week's jam-packed episode of Ride the Lightning, everything happening this week in the world of Tesla, I want to say that I hope all of you who are generously and kindly supporting my efforts here with Ride the Lightning over on Patreon enjoyed this week's Lightning Round mini episode, which, speaking of Cybertruck, was about some ideas that I've had. I gave you a big list of name ideas for your Cybertruck. As you all know, you can choose an actual name for your Tesla in the UI, and it'll show up in the Tesla app as well when you open that up. My Model 3 Performance's name is the Spirit of Adventure, because I literally want it to be that, and that's what it represents to me. And I also love the Pixar film Up. It's my favorite Pixar film. So that's what I named my car, and I've been thinking about, well, what do I want to name my Cybertruck when I get it? And I actually still have not decided. So I gave a long list of some name ideas for what maybe could be good Cybertruck names on this week's Patreon exclusive Lightning Round mini episode. So if you'd like to hear that, as well as the other 100 plus Lightning Round mini episodes, all of which are evergreen topics, meaning they're just as enjoyable today as they were, or just, I won't say, I guess I can't guarantee enjoyable. I'll say they're just as relevant. You know, they're not super time sensitive, so they're just as good to listen to now as they were when I first put them out. If you'd like to hear those and support me on Patreon, I'd be humbled and grateful if you would. You can go to my Patreon page, found at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. And if you sign up at that $10 per month tier, you'll not only get the entire archive of those Lightning Round mini episodes, you'll get every new one each new week, and you'll get early access to each week's new episode as well. There's a 7-day free trial available as well on that $10 per month tier. If you're interested, but maybe not quite sure if you want to commit money to it, you can check that out, the 7-day free trial. And if you do decide that you'd like to support me on Patreon, which again, I'd be extremely grateful for, there is an annual pledge option if you just want to pledge once for an entire year of support, and you'll get a 10% discount on the year if you do that. So one more time, the Patreon link is patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. Okay, on to the headline story for this week. EV sales have been on the rise in the US and elsewhere over the past few years, and recent registration data from S&P Global Mobility shows that EV sales growth outpaced the rest of the automotive market for the month of June. I saw this story on Teslarati. They write, EV sales were up in the first half of the year, according to the data, as well as the tech having outpaced the broader market in June, both due to large incentive programs bringing EV prices down for consumers via Automotive News. New EV registrations jumped 3.1% year over year in June, with 108,026 vehicles registered, while the market as a whole saw an 8.8% decrease to a little over 1.2 million units, according to S&P Global Mobility. Quote, "The June month numbers were good for EVs," said S&P Global Mobility analyst Kent Chu. Quote, "But behind them were pretty strong incentives as a motivator," end quote. EV market share in June grew to 8.9% as a result, marking 1% higher than the same month last year. So these are year-over-year numbers. The data also includes only new battery electric vehicle registrations rather than including used vehicles or any gas-powered hybrids. Tesla led the charts as the brand with the highest number of registrations, outselling the next closest competitor, Ford, nearly tenfold. Tesla also saw its June numbers boosted by the Cybertruck, which also earned the spot for the top-selling vehicle over $100,000 the last 2 months. One more quote from Chu: "As more EVs come to market and occupy segments that match internal combustion vehicles, there will be more consumers that switch over to the EV space." So with that, here is the list. Top 10 brands for June EV registrations. Number 1, of course, Tesla, who actually is themselves down 2.4% year over year. So it's not quite all good news, but the EV segment overall is up, and Tesla still, again, nearly a tenfold increase or tenfold difference between them and the number 2. So Tesla at just under 61,000 units registered in the month of June. Ford at number 2, 6,298. So that's, again, it's as Elon likes to say, an order of magnitude. Kia at number 3, gaining big, 105% difference year over year in the positive. About 5,200 units for them. Rivian just under 5,000. Hyundai, same thing, right behind Rivian. Chevy at 3,700 plus. BMW right behind them at about 3,500. Nissan lower at number 8, 2,379. Cadillac at number 9, 2,182. And Mercedes-Benz, 1,903. Now, again, you might think, well, Tesla's down year over year. That's not good. But look at the numbers that I just read to you. As I mentioned, to use one of Elon's favorite phrases, Tesla is still an order of magnitude above the number 2 brand on this list in terms of vehicles sold. So there's kind of nowhere for Tesla to go but down in a list like this. I mean, that's not literally true, I suppose, because the Model 2.5, as I've been calling it, that could tip the scales. That could really put the thumb on the scale for Tesla to tip things even more heavily back in their favor as the Model 2.5 is revealed and then goes into production and ramps up over the next 2-3 years. But it's good to see more brands on this list. It's good to have more solid EV choices out there, which, by the way, as we all know, Tesla is helping by opening up the supercharger network. So out of these non-Tesla companies on the list, first I want to say shout out to Kia, again, up about 106%. So clearly that EV6 and that newer EV9 are out there doing some good work. And then Rivian continues steady growth that should hopefully spike significantly in the next 2-3 years for them as well, if they're able to successfully build and ramp up the R2. And then I'll say, with no ill will towards Cadillac, I don't have any problem with Cadillac, but I'm not shouting them out here, despite the fact that they did grow 404% year over year. Again, it's nothing against them, but they were basically starting from zero, so it's not quite as impressive. Like, Hyundai's been putting in the work for the last few years. Ford, and most everybody else on this list has been at it with EVs for a good little while. Cadillac, they're just kind of new to the game here. So, hey, they're number 9. We'll see what they do next year and how they look year over year for themselves. And then everybody else, like I said, everyone else on this list has been at it and offering some EVs, and I think in most of these cases, some good EVs for the last couple years. But I guess I will point out quickly, just not really in a mean way, but just more of a head-scratching way. What the heck, Mercedes? You guys have been making EVs, the EQS sedan and the EQS SUV, for the last 2-3 years now, and I hear pretty good things. They're apparently very luxurious inside. The big sort of giant entire dashboard being screens looks very cool. But they are somehow, Mercedes-Benz is down 43% year over year. That's ouch. What's going on there? I don't know. But this is a Tesla podcast, so getting back to Tesla. Good stuff here overall. Tesla is clearly going to be number 1 on this list for the long foreseeable future. Next up this week, Tesla is gearing up to launch the Tesla Semi in Europe. Saw this story on Drive Tesla Canada, so I'll tip my cap to them. They write, a new job listing has appeared on Tesla's careers website seeking the head of business development for the Semi in Europe. The role, based in either Amsterdam or Berlin, will be instrumental in building customer relationships, meeting with potential customers to understand their needs, coordinating with governments on funding opportunities, and overseeing the deployment of the Semi and its associated infrastructure throughout Europe, according to the listing. Through a post on LinkedIn, Tesla's business development head for the Semi program, Graham Carroll, highlighted the significance of this move, saying, quote, "We are taking steps to bring the Tesla Semi to Europe, and I'm looking for someone with industry experience in electrification to help us develop this exciting new market. This is a groundbreaking product that meaningfully advances Tesla's mission, and the team behind it is world-class. Let the wild rumpus begin." And I cannot remember the last time that I heard or read the word rumpus. So shout out, Graham Carroll. That's a fun word to say. I enjoy rumpus. It's fair to remember that while this is exciting, this is cool, just to get grounded for a second here, this probably isn't going to happen anytime soon. And the reason I say that is because the Tesla Semi factory at Giga Nevada, construction on that's only just now underway, with production, as I've talked about on recent episodes, expected to get ramped up late next year or early 2026. But once that factory in Nevada is operational and pumping out 50,000 Tesla Semis per year, well, it would seem that perhaps the 50,000 per year figure is to address global demand, not simply North American demand. I wonder how the production will be split. Like, how many of the 50,000 a year are going to be for North America versus how many for Europe? I mean, the US is obviously geographically much larger, so there's quite literally more opportunity, perhaps even more need for more Tesla semis in this country. But Europe it's not like you can just drive across it in an hour. It's still, Europe's a big place. So I expect the Tesla Semi will be quite welcome and quite successful over there as well. And by the way, one other last note on this before I get to the next story. I know I've said before that math isn't exactly my strong suit as a journalism major, but just a fun stat. I just busted out my trusty calculator. 50,000 Tesla semis per year, with each truck having 900 kilowatt hours of battery pack in it, equals 45 million kilowatt hours of batteries per year, or in other words, 45 gigawatt hours of battery per year just going into the Tesla Semi. That is awesome. And that just speaks to Tesla's battery plans and what they're doing to ramp up battery production and how they're going to need every single cell they can get. And the cheaper, the better, right? The cheaper that they can manufacture those cells, the better. So 45 gigawatt hours per year when it's fully ramped up just for the Tesla Semi. Awesome. Next this week, speaking of the Tesla Semi, there was an unfortunate first that occurred for Tesla's electric long hauler this past week. The first reported Tesla Semi crash took place in Placer County, California. The NTSB is investigating. I saw this on Drive Tesla Canada, who noted that, quote, "Fortunately, no injuries were reported, but the Semi did catch fire, resulting in authorities closing down a section of highway." I want to play for you now a 5-minute local news report. This comes from NBC affiliate KCRA, and this comes from the day it happened as the fire was still burning. So this was breaking news. That's the context for this news report. So I say that to maybe give the reporters you're about to hear from and the people you're about to hear from a little bit of slack. But that being said, see if you get as frustrated listening to this as I did.
Breaking news, we're following a Tesla semi-truck crashing and catching fire along Interstate 80. The fire causing road closures and traffic backups for hours today. Westbound traffic opening back up just within the past hour. Crews have been out there working to make sure the fire did not spread. So Livecopter 3 capturing these exclusive images you'll only see on KCRA 3 during our noon hour. Crews say batteries from electric semi-trucks have to be 100 degrees before they can be safely removed. About an hour and a half ago, they were still at 500 degrees, but the temperatures are dropping. That is the good news. We want to thank you for joining us here at 5. I'm Andrea Flores.
And I'm Ty Steele. It's all quite the process. This is all happening on Interstate 80 near Nyack. KCRA 3's Michelle Bandour has spoken with stuck drivers. They are waiting for this to all finally get cleared out. We are having some progress on this front, right, Michelle?
Yeah, Ty, we just received the latest information about the fire, that battery fire. Cal Fire tells us that there has been, quote, significant reduction in temperatures of those batteries. So right now, they're coming up with a plan to move that Tesla, move that semi, which was the cab only, to that Nevada Tesla factory plant. So there is some progress there. And you can probably hear over on the other side, westbound 80 open, but we are still here on the eastbound side of I-80 that is still closed. They're stopping us here at Nyack for those safety reasons because that semi and that battery is still there, still on that side of the interstate. It's just been a long waiting game for everyone here and all of those stranded drivers. A burning battery from a Tesla electric big rig.
They're burning up. We had to close the highway in both directions to keep the public safe from driving through the toxic fumes.
Brings business on Interstate 80 to a standstill.
They say maybe until 10 p.m. How many hours I've been here? Since 8 hours already? Yeah, 9 hours stuck in here.
Stuck while CAL FIRE crews and Tesla engineers wait for the charge of the lithium-ion batteries to die and burn themselves out.
Is when they break down, they start feeding off of each other, and they catch fire, they burn themselves out, using the battery itself as fuel.
This is the first time fire crews have faced this type of semi-truck electric battery emergency. Chief Ryan Wessner says they've trained with Tesla on broken down rigs, but not burning batteries.
This is new technology for us, and we are learning with the engineers as we work through this process. And so far, the name of the game for us right now is to wait it out.
I pick up this coach over in Stockton. It's supposed to go to Tesla today.
In an ironic twist, this Modesto truck driver is hauling electric battery parts, 46,000 pounds of coils, to the Tesla factory in Nevada. You were going to the Tesla factory?
Tesla factory, yeah. This coil is to make those kind of batteries that got burned over there.
Other drivers tried to wait it out, but are giving up and going home.
Downright scary, yeah. I mean, we know all kinds of stuff is transported over the roads, and, you know, all it takes is an accident for it to turn bad.
Contreras says he won't drive a truck with an electric battery.
What happened if this truck get burned like in the city or something? They're going to evacuate everybody?
Well, it has been frustrating for those drivers like Contreras. He's self-employed, so he doesn't get paid until he drops that haul, drops those battery parts at the Tesla factory. And as for that driver today, he's not hurt. He was taken to the hospital to be checked out, and CHP is investigating why he veered off Interstate 80 in the first place. So they're still investigating that. But now it's still a waiting game because eastbound I-80 is still closed, and I'm told that's still going to take a couple of hours since they're working on that Tesla semi and those burned out batteries right now. Reporting live near Nyack, Michelle Bandour, KCRA 3 News.
What a process, Michelle. And that driver bringing up a really good point. What would happen if that happened in the middle of the city? All right, Livecopter 3 here over the effort to fight this fire in our noon hour. You could see that retardant drop and the pink retardant on the road left behind as fire crews were working to create a perimeter around that fire so it didn't spread to the vegetation and create a wildfire after that semi-truck fire. And take a look at the truck itself after the fire was put out. Just nothing almost nothing, just ash and then just an imprint of basically the bottom of that vehicle. We will continue to follow this story. We'll continue to follow the road closures. They are making progress on that front, but as you heard from Michelle Bandour, the process is still unfolding.
I am so glad to hear that the driver appeared to be unharmed and that the fire remained contained to the immediate area around the truck and not the forest adjacent to where the truck had pulled off the road. But that said, why is almost everyone in this video, from the reporters to the other truck driver they interviewed to the fire official to the other drivers on the road, why are they all acting like the Tesla Semi is powered by a nuclear reactor that turns into a mini Chernobyl, nuclear fallout event in the event of an accident? If a regular diesel-powered semi-truck did the same thing, if it had the same thing happen, it went off the road, caught fire, went off the road, guess what? The fire might get put out quicker, but there's still the same risk of that fire spreading to the nearby forest. And if it happened in town, as one of the people, like if this happened in town, what does that guy even mean by that? Like it's somehow a clear and present danger to the public that a gas-powered semi-truck isn't? I mean, look, I know that all of those people, the ones that were interviewed on the ground there, they were all in an agitated state, whether it's frustration from being held up of trying to get to their destination or from having to, in the firefighters' case, fight a type of fire that they rarely have to fight because, as we all know, EVs catch fire an order of magnitude less often. Key piece of information. They rarely have to fight these fires. They don't have nearly as much experience fighting them because they don't happen nearly as often. So the people on the ground, for me, they're forgiven a bit for their in-the-moment reactions there. But it's clear to me that Tesla, and yes, I put the onus on them because who else is going to do it? Tesla needs to educate the public a lot more about the greatly reduced risk of fire in an EV and the facts about what happens when there is a fire in an EV. The bottom line is we want people to embrace this technology. And I'm not just talking about, I am talking about EVs in general, like passenger cars, the cars we're driving, but semi-trucks as well. Like the Tesla Semi has the potential to change an entire, very highly polluting industry. It has the chance to do that. And we want people to embrace that technology. We want them to see electric semi-trucks and not be afraid of them or angry at them or resentful of them or anything like that. We want people to go, oh, cool. It's an electric semi, and that means that's great. It's not pumping out a bunch of toxic emissions as it sits in town making its deliveries at, name your big box store, wherever the case may be. So we want people to embrace this technology because it's better. We don't want them to reject it because they fear it or don't fully understand it. All right. Taking a quick break from the news, there are a couple more stories to get back to. But on a much, much, much happier note, I want to mention a couple of friends to ride the lightning here real quick at the midpoint of the show. This is now the last call, the last time I will be mentioning this because the raffle is happening. If you would like to win a Tesla, whether that's an S, an X, a 3, a Y, or a Cybertruck, or $50,000 in cash, the 10th annual Tesla raffle from Chesed Chicago is back. It is back. I talked about this last year. This is a great cause. Chesed Chicago, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping families in crisis, funding over 80 programs and services right now. Their goal is helping families get back on their feet by offering goods and services like food, furniture, job placement, and navigating government funding. So they are they're raffling off the Tesla of your choice. Great cause here, and you've got pretty good odds. because there are only going to be a maximum of 9,999 tickets sold. And if they don't sell that many, they're still doing the raffle. So get your tickets now at ccraffle.com. And if you buy 2 tickets, you can get a $25 off discount on those 2 tickets by using the promo code RTL. Or if you really want to load up, you want to up your chances, if you buy 15 tickets, you'll get $500 off with that same promo code RTL. So I seriously, truly hope that one of you wins this raffle. And if you do, I'd love to talk to you on the podcast because I'd love to hear what you chose, which vehicle, or whether you went with the cash, and what it was like to win, something like that. That would be just amazing. So get in there, enter the raffle. It's for a good cause. ccraffle.com, promo code RTL if you're buying 2 tickets or that 15-ticket bundle. And then my friends at Accelerate Auto, offering their X-Care extended warranty package. I have one on my car. I'm good for an extra 3 years and 40,000 miles on my car. I'm now 1 year into that, so I've still got 2 years and however many miles left, whichever one comes first. So, and that's what's cool here is X-Care will allow you to customize your plan. You can set however many years you want, up to 10 more years after your factory warranty is up. And on the mileage too, you can go up to an additional 125,000 miles after your factory warranty is up. You can also get the X-Care plan on the entire car except the battery and drivetrain, or you can include the battery and drivetrain and get literally the entire car, or you can just get a policy for the battery and drivetrain if you don't want to worry about the rest of it, but just have that very critical and expensive battery and drivetrain components covered. You can do that with your X-Care extended warranty plan. So check them out. The website is xceleratauto.com/XCARE. Again, accelerateauto.com/XCare. And don't forget to use the discount code LIGHTNING for $100 off your extended care policy purchase. Check them out. All right, getting back to this week's Tesla news, Tesla's deal with New York state officials regarding the Gigafactory in Buffalo is about to change dramatically, as the current agreement between Tesla and New York State is set to expire this year. Another tip of the cap to Teslarati, where I saw this one, and they write, the factory produces Tesla's solar roof, tiles, and superchargers, and solar panels, which they didn't have in here. There are also autopilot data analysts employed at the factory. Tesla currently has an agreement that requires an employment rate of 1,460 people at Gigafactory 2, as it used to be known, and 2,000 total people across the state of New York. Not reaching these thresholds would invoke a $41 million fine. However, in 2025, Tesla and the state will renew their deal, and the terms are set to change pretty dramatically. According to the Investigative Post, Tesla and the state have decided to rework the terms as a new draft agreement obtained through the Freedom of Information Act by Empire State Development. The new deal includes the following changes. The new agreement could run through 2034, so basically a 10-year deal. Tesla will employ 1,800 employees in Buffalo. That's up from the 1,460. Tesla will employ 3,000 employees statewide, up from 2,000 now. Penalties for not reaching the employment threshold will result in a $41 million penalty, but will drop to $10 after 2029. I don't know if it was literally $10 or if they meant 10 million. I'm guessing it might actually just be, I know what, maybe neither one of those would surprise me. Maybe it's just $10. But anyway, there are also adjustments to the rent that Tesla pays for the factory, an agreement for the Dojo supercomputer location, and the potential for an increase in statewide employee threshold if lawmakers allow the company to open 10 showrooms across New York State. So, hey, scratch our back, let us open some more stores, we will get some more jobs in New York State. That seems like a pretty fair deal. Tesla currently pays $1 per year for rent at Giga New York. This number will go up to $2 million through 2029 and $5 million per year through 2034. The Dojo supercomputer will be located at Gigafactory Buffalo, and Tesla needs to hire 500 more employees statewide if those 10 additional showrooms are allowed to open across New York State. And it is noted that the agreement has reportedly not been signed quite yet. Well, I think this sounds pretty reasonable for both parties. I'm no business expert, certainly, but just sitting here as somebody that's a voter, I mean, I don't live in New York State to have any sort of impact. I'm not going to be impacted by this directly, but it sounds pretty reasonable for both parties here, because Tesla keeps investing in Buffalo and the state of New York by creating more jobs at Giga Buffalo, again, aka the artist formerly known as Gigafactory 2, and the greater state of New York, and Tesla keeps getting to do their thing there. I mean, at this point, Tesla's got to be pretty entrenched in that facility, and it would probably cost Tesla a lot more money to move their solar and their supercharger manufacturing processes to another Gigafactory, which, if they ever did, would presumably be Giga Nevada, if it did ever come to that. So I think it would probably cost Tesla more money to pack up and move than it would to simply re-up with the state of New York. So hopefully an amicable deal for both sides gets finalized soon. And the last story I have for you this week, Baltimore, the city of Baltimore, has chosen Tesla over Ford for a $5 million EV fleet in the city. One more tip of the cap to Teslarati, who writes, Baltimore's Board of Estimates voted to spend up to $5 million on EVs built by Tesla. It has been using EVs for 6 years, but this will be the first time it is using Tesla-built vehicles. Baltimore Fishbowl first reported on the approval, so good on Teslarati to cite the original source. The minutes of the meeting show that initially the city wanted to buy Ford Mustang Mach-E's. However, they were deemed not needed because they're considered SUVs. Quote, vendors were solicited by posting on CityBuy, eMaryland Marketplace, and in local newspapers. 2 bids were received and opened on April 3rd of this year. Both were responsive and responsible. Waldorf bid electric Mustangs, which are considered SUVs and are not needed. Thus, the award is recommended to be made to Tesla to supply EV passenger cars/sedans. This contract has 2 one-year renewal options at the sole discretion of the city. The amount is the city's estimated requirement. However, the vendor shall supply the city's entire requirement, be it more or less, end quote. The Model 3 and Model Y will be utilized for the fleet, and the allotted amount, of $5 million would be enough to buy 147 Tesla vehicles. Well, it makes perfect sense, right? I mean, if they don't need SUVs, they just need cars for their city business, their city purpose. The Model 3 is arguably the best bang for your buck that you can get in the EV world at all. And I would actually argue, and yes, I'm a Tesla fanboy, so maybe this is a fanboy argument, but I would argue that perhaps the Model 3 is the best bang for your buck, or at least among the best values for any car, regardless of its propulsion method, at any price. If we're talking gas-powered cars, EVs, the Model 3 is an incredible value. Now, should my theory from last week's episode prove correct, that we in fact do see the stripped-down Model 3 that they're doing for the Mexico market make its way here before the end of the year, well, that car would be perfect for what the city of Baltimore has said they need them for. You'd be looking at 272 miles of daily usable range. You can charge that LFP battery to 100% on a regular basis without having to worry about the health of the battery. And in a Tesla, you're getting ultimate, unmatched safety and efficiency. So that would be my advice to the folks responsible for this purchase in the Baltimore government. If any of you are listening, heed my caution here. Not a caution, just a polite recommendation. And it's this. If you can, wait 2 months before you put your order in with Tesla, just in case my line of thinking here proves correct, and you can buy this ultra stripped down Model 3 for even less money than the current base Model 3, and thus be able to purchase more, either A, purchase more vehicles for the city, which is good, or purchase the same number that you already needed before if it's a set number, and then you've saved the taxpayers some money by not spending the entire $5 million. So that's my recommendation there. And as I always say with these types of stories, a nice side effect with this is going to be that when, not if, when Baltimore's investment in Teslas proves to be a huge success, other cities are going to take notice and they're going to follow suit. And to that point, Baltimore is no small town. They're no Bargersville, Indiana, with no, and I mean no disrespect to Bargersville, Indiana, who was they were the first ones. They were the pioneers of buying a Tesla as a police vehicle and getting to reap the rewards of it having such a lower total cost of operation, total cost of ownership. But Baltimore doing this and buying $5 million worth of Model 3s, other cities they're gonna notice this when the word gets around about how effectively these cars are performing in terms of, again, their maintenance costs and their fuel costs. Baltimore's no small town, so they will set an example for other major U.S. cities. You can mark my words on that one. All right, that is everything I've got for you in another busy week of Tesla news, but I've got some of your excellent Ride the Lightning hotline phone calls queued up and ready to go, so stay tuned for those right after this.
Hi, this is Franz von Holzhausen, and you're listening to Ride the Lightning with Ryan McCaffrey, the Tesla unofficial podcast.
Time for me to open up the floor to all of you in the Ride the Lightning hotline. You can call in and have a chance to be featured here on the podcast if you've got a Tesla question, comment, or discussion topic. I welcome and invite you to call in with it. There are 2 easy ways to call in. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, record your question, and please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many callers each week as possible, and then email that file to me at teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or the second method is to simply call in and leave a message on the Ride the Lightning hotline. You can do that anytime, day or night. The toll-free number is 1-888-989-8752. Again, that's 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they are special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. And our first caller this week is David from Myrtle Beach, Florida, responding to Victor from Des Moines last week.
Hey Ryan, Dave from New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Listening to your caller today, wondering what features a specific VIN has. I don't know the exact answer to this, but I do believe that Tesla maintains a digital twin of every car, so they know for sure by VIN exactly what's on that car. My suggestion would be to connect with Tesla sales and to say, hey, this inventory item looks interesting to me. Can you tell me if it has X, Y, or Z, or can you tell me all the features that are associated with that car? Don't know whether that would work, but that would be my first suggestion. Thanks for everything. Give mine a pat for me.
Thank you for the constructive suggestion on this, David, and I would be happy, by the way, to pass along some pets for mine. I'll do that right after the podcast is recorded. I got a couple of other helpful emails and calls about this too, so let me mention those right now. Roger emailed to suggest the website tesla-info.com/inventory.php, which I took a look at, and it does let you sort used inventory by features like third row seating, etc. But it doesn't quite drill down so far as to tell you whether or not it has an octo valve in it or MCU3. Then Billy from Raleigh asked ChatGPT and got a very detailed response that does provide that ultra granular information. So, as Billy says in his email to me, I asked ChatGPT to show Model Y changes and the time these changes were made available to the public. And then Billy copy-pasted what ChatGPT spat back out, and I think it's got everything that Victor from Des Moines was looking for. I'll read you one entry just as a quick sample here. April 2022, Tesla introduced the Matrix LED headlights in some regions. And there's a whole giant list of this stuff. So, Victor, if you're listening, I think the Ride the Lightning community has come together to help get you the exact information you were looking for. And I suppose you could use the ChatGPT information in concert with one of the VIN decoders, if you just Google Tesla VIN decoder, so that when you're looking at a used Tesla, used Model Y, put the VIN into the VIN decoder. You should get the build date from that, or build month, I think, from it. The actual number at the end of the VIN should be able to tell you when that car was built, and then just cross-reference it with that ChatGPT list. So happy hunting to Victor, and I hope this helps other folks out there as well. Thank you very much to everyone that took the time to lend a hand on this. We're all here to help each other out, right? We're all just sharing the enthusiasm of these cars, of this company together. That's what it's all about. That's why I do this podcast. So thank you, David. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Billy. Appreciate it, everybody. Next call is from Marty in Seattle, again with a response to a caller from last week about pulling a trailer on FSD. Go ahead, Marty.
Hey, Ryan, this is Marty from Seattle, and I hope I can answer a question for your questioner last week that asked about the pulling a trailer with full self-driving. I've got full self-driving in my Model Y, 2021, 2022 Model Y, and I can pull my trailer with it. I cannot use full self-driving, as he mentioned, but I can use autopilot, and he said you also couldn't use autopilot. But I think what he's missing is that I set up another profile that only uses autopilot for when I pull the trailer, and under that profile, it actually works. So you can't use full self-driving when pulling a trailer, but you can use autopilot, at least with my 2122 Model Y. So I hope that helps somebody, and thanks for your podcast.
I have no need to add anything to this because it's all right there. Marty, thank you so much for that super constructive response. I've got time for one more call this week. It is from Nick in San Jose, also responding to another caller. See, we're all here to help each other out. Responding to the caller who was looking for the quick, instant toggle between chill mode and sport mode. We've got a solution for this as well, courtesy of the Ride the Lightning community. Here you go from Nick in San Jose.
Hey Ryan, this is Nick from San Jose, California here. Just finished episode 472 and heard the caller talking about the chill and sport mode button feature that they were proposing. And I just wanted to call out that this feature already exists, at least it does on my 2018 Model 3, where if you press and hold the left steering wheel button, you can customize what that button does, and there are many options. There's temperature, fan speed, wiper speed, brightness, saving a dash cam video, camera, defrost, dome lights, open the glove box, and finally the acceleration mode. And after you choose that as your what your button does, then when you're driving and you press and hold for about 2 seconds, then you can quickly switch from chill to sport mode or standard mode. I think it might be on other vehicles. So just wanted to call that out. Pretty cool feature, and makes it a lot safer to swap your acceleration mode rather than touching on the screen a couple times. So hope this helps a few of your listeners out there, and keep doing what you're doing. Love the podcast. Take care.
Again, nothing for me to add because Nick's got us covered. I'll be honest, I completely forgot about that customizable scroll wheel action that the old Model S and X's have had forever, that the other cars have had added to them more recently. I don't think I've ever customized it. I should go in there and see if there's anything I'd rather have on my scroll wheel. But there you go. The acceleration mode toggle right there. Thanks so much, Nick. Thank you to everybody that took the time to call in, whether it's to ask a question, leave a discussion topic, or respond and be helpful to a fellow Ride the Lightning listener. I promise I will get to more of your Ride the Lightning hotline phone calls on next week's podcast. So keep those calls coming. I gave you the call-in instructions at the top of this segment. I am not done this week. There is still your pro tip of the week and a little bit more here. As for what's going on with me and my car, well, not much at the moment. It's due for a bath this weekend. I think I'll be doing that. But otherwise, I've just got puppy class with Mina here. I have to say, just real quick, she is doing amazing. So she's 12 weeks, and knock on wood, she is gone. If she makes it through the rest of the night here, and it's getting pretty late, she'll have gone 5 days in a row with no accidents in the house at 12 weeks old, which, I don't know, to me is mind-boggling. Zelina definitely did not pull that off. Daisy definitely did not pull that off. She is showing a willingness to work and to learn, and she's food motivated, and she's sweet as can be. I would be willing to bet a very expensive lunch, like a really nice lunch, that this dog's going to graduate, because she seems to have the temperament for it. Boy, I mean, she is just really impressive so far, and she's a doll, too. She is just an absolute sweetheart. I love having this puppy. I'm so glad that my family and I decided to go back for round 2 of volunteer puppy raising with canine companions. Entertainment recommendation for this week. I've got one for you, and I've got one queued up for next week as well, because the next week one's not available yet today. But this week's entertainment recommendation, if you own a Nintendo Switch, Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. This is a collection of basically little timed challenges from, I can't remember if it's 12 or 13 classic original Nintendo Entertainment System games from the original Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2 and 3, The Legend of Zelda 1 and Zelda 2, Metroid's in there. What else? There's a bunch of good ones. Ice Climbers is in there. Balloon Fight. Just so many cool games, and there are all these little challenges, and the game is basically, they've kind of made a party game of sorts. I mean, it can be competitive if you wanted to, out of the old, actual, real-life Nintendo World Championships that they used to hold in the 80s. You may remember, I mean, I remember vividly this because I'm the exact right age for it. If you've ever seen the movie The Wizard with Fred Savage, which came out in late 80s. I don't remember the exact year, but of course that movie was basically a giant commercial for Super Mario Brothers 3 before that game came out, and it totally worked on me. Super Mario Brothers 3, fun fact, went on to become, like, if you just said, Ryan, you have to pick one game. What's your favorite game of all time? It's Super Mario Brothers 3. Anyway, Nintendo World Championships NES Edition, super fun. These little bite-sized challenges in all these classic Nintendo games. Check it out. If you've got people over, it's a fun one. And you don't even have to be like a gamer. Like, anybody can just pick them up, because there's only, since they're original Nintendo games, there's only 2 buttons. There's the equivalent of an A and a B button. So if you've got a Nintendo Switch, throw it on when you've got people over. You can have up to 8 players. Of course, you need enough controllers for that, but It is. It's super fun, and if you're of a certain age, as I am, it'll definitely kick in on the nostalgia side, as well as just being fun as a party game challenge thing with your friends here in 2024. Your pro tip of the week is from John in Indiana. Here it is.
Hi, Ryan. This is John from Indiana. I heard you were looking for some pro tips, and I think I have one that may be helpful for some people. So one little rule of thumb that I use and something that I've taught the rest of my family to use when you're driving, especially when you're getting down into the lower battery percentages, just take that battery percentage and double it. So if you're at 30%, double it. That means you got at least 60 miles to go. And then you look at your miles to your destination and you say, hey, I know I'm 50 miles from my destination and I've got 60 because I was at 30%. I've doubled it. That gives me 60. I know for sure I can get 60 miles and I only got 50 to go. I feel confident I'll arrive at my destination. And it produces that extra confidence that whatever the Tesla is displaying as is there, you feel confident you're going to make it there. The reason this trick works is because you're only giving it about 2 miles per percentage. All right. And virtually every Tesla out there can at least get 2 miles of range for every percent of the battery. More likely it's 3 miles, right? About 300 miles total for 100%. Here, I'm thinking, okay, I'll just be conservative and just take my percentage and double it. It's also very easy math to do. So if I see my car's at 30%, I know I can get 60 miles out of it without any stress whatsoever, and then I don't need to worry about it. So that's my pro tip. I hope it's helpful for some people. I really like your show, and keep doing what you're doing. Thanks very much. Bye.
Thanks, John. I think this is a pretty reliable shorthand to guide folks, particularly less experienced EV road trippers. I mean, I remember my first EV road trip back over the holidays in 2018 after I'd gotten my car over that summer, and I intentionally charged my car more than I knew I needed to at superchargers on that route from San Francisco to Phoenix. Again, on purpose, just to give myself more buffer because I did feel some range anxiety since I hadn't done it before. I mean, after that, I got a feel for how accurate the car's on-screen range estimator was, and it turns out it's reasonably accurate. But you're right that extreme weather of any kind, hot, cold, whatever, heavy winds, can change it, sometimes significantly. So I like your shorthand here as a good play it safe rule of thumb that probably isn't going to let you down. So, John, thank you for calling. Thanks for that pro tip. And if anybody else out there has a good pro tip of the week that you'd like to share with me and your fellow Tesla owners and enthusiasts, I would love to hear it. I could use a new, fresh infusion of good pro tips of the week. I think I know I like this part of the podcast because I learn stuff too, and hopefully you enjoy it. So if you've got a good pro tip of the week, send it my way. You can submit it the same way that you send in a regular Ride the Lightning hotline phone call, and I gave you the 2 instructions, the 2 methods for that a little earlier in the podcast. Before I go, I want to mention some friends of Ride the Lightning that hopefully can be useful to you sooner or later. I'll start with abstractocean.com. They've got a 15% coupon code for first-time order placers at, again, abstractocean.com. That coupon code RTL Podcast, all one word, no spaces. And Abstract Ocean, if you haven't been there, just stop by, click on whichever Tesla you own, see what they've got. The tempered glass screen protector that uses the Gorilla Glass and it's custom fit. That's one of their best sellers. Great product. Definitely recommend that. But they've got a ton of other stuff too. A lot of lighting kits, both interior and exterior, if you either want to go with brighter interior lighting or different color interior lighting as well. Just take a look. They've got so much stuff. Abstractocean.com. And when you see stuff you like, put it in your online shopping cart. When you get to checkout, use that coupon code RTL Podcast. That's all one word. No spaces for that 15% discount off your first order. I also recommend the Snap Plate and the newer Snap Plate Plus if you prefer to go the strengthened route on that, which I'll explain in a second here. It's available for SX3 and Y. You can get it at everyamp.com/RTL. And there's a nice discount for that too, using the coupon code RTL. Now, this is the front license plate bracket that is a nice, clean, minimalist design, which I prefer to the one that Tesla gives you with your car, which is a bulkier thing that sticks on with automotive tape, automotive adhesive. So if you ever wanted to take it off for any reason, you're either going to be scratching the paint or it's going to be really, really, really time-consuming and annoying to get off. Whereas the Snap Plate and the Snap Plate Plus go on and off in seconds, but when they're on there securely. So if you're in a state that requires a front license plate or you just want one on there, I do recommend the Snap Plate and the Snap Plate Plus. The regular Snap Plate is safety optimized with breakaway features to sacrifice itself in a worst-case scenario like a parking accident or a car wash. The newer Snap Plate Plus is strength optimized with hardened features for maximum strength. Get yours again at everyamp.com/RTL and use the coupon code RTL. For solar, if you're considering solar for your home or business or both, you are probably going to consult with several solar providers on that. I certainly would recommend you do, just to make sure you're getting the best price, the best package, what's going to work best for your home or business. I just ask that you keep budgetsafesolar.com on that short list of providers that you're considering. Worked out great for me. I'm super happy with my setup. They were able to find some extra space on my roof, my tiny, weird, very vertical San Francisco roof that quite frankly Tesla wasn't. And it's okay. I don't hold it against them or anything, but Budget Safe Solar really customized a solar layout that was going to maximize my small and strange roof space. And because of that, I now have 100% electricity offset, which is awesome. It feels super good, and you can get it too. So check them out, budgetsafesolar.com. They now offer home battery storage, which includes the new Tesla Powerwall 3. So if you want to get that as part of your solar installation, go for it. Check them out, budgetsafesolar.com. And if you do proceed with a solar installation, all I ask is that you use the referral code RTL. If you are in or going to be in the greater San Francisco Bay Area with a car that you care about, whether it's your Tesla or something else fun in your garage, visit Immaculate Reflections. Make an appointment, head on over there. Whether you want to get your paint protected with paint protection film on some or all of the car, whether you want to get your paint finish looking as good as it possibly can, which is done through the process of paint correction, which I've had done by Immaculate Reflections on my car, and it looks incredible. You don't have any of the swirls in there. It's especially in the sun, it's absolutely stunning. Maybe you want to do ceramic coating so that you don't have to wax your car for the next 3 to 5 plus years. Any of that, some of that, all of that, you can go to Immaculate Reflections, and I guarantee you're going to leave happy. I've had a number of listeners reach out and tell me how great an experience that they've had, and this is over the years, right? I'm not saying like, everybody last month. No, this has been going on. Immaculate Reflections has been kindly offering a Ride the Lightning listener discount here for a long time, and I'm really grateful to Jeff, the owner, for doing that. And so to take advantage of that, go to the website, irdetailing.com, contact them through there, mention that you're a Ride the Lightning listener, and whatever service you have booked in, there will be that Ride the Lightning listener discount applied, and Jeff will work with you on if you've got a budget in mind, if you've got particularly specific things that you want to do with your car to get it looking as good as it possibly can. There's no better place you can take it, I promise you that. irdetailing.com. The Patreon, I mentioned it a little earlier in the podcast, but that is the way that you can best support this podcast if you choose to. Again, it's optional, and this podcast has always been and will always be free. As you know, new episodes drop every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. But if you've been listening for a while, if you get a lot out of it, hopefully you find the podcast informative, maybe even a little entertaining from time to time. I'd be super grateful if you would take a look at the Patreon page and consider a pledge. You can go to patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. Patreon is spelled Patreon. And the support tiers start at just $5 a month. And the most popular tier that I mentioned earlier in the podcast is that $10 per month tier, which will get you early access to each week's episode and those, not only the weekly lightning round mini episodes, but the entire back catalog of over 100 of them as well. And I should mention something that I've been doing a poor job of mentioning. I think I've maybe mentioned this once or twice since Patreon implemented it a few months ago, and it's been really cool, actually. There is now, if you join the Patreon, in addition to the usual perks that you get depending on your pledge tier, there is basically an open chat channel. Think of it as kind of like a Discord channel built into Patreon where anybody can go in there and post things up, start a conversation, other people can reply. And what's been super cool about that is it's been really active. And it's not driven by me, it's driven by you guys. So people will post things up and other people will respond, I'll respond. And that's been a really fun way to stay engaged with all of you throughout the course of the week, rather than just here when I'm doing your phone call, playing the phone calls, and recording the podcast here on weekends. So that's just another little thing that's at any tier of the Patreon. So again, if you see it in your heart to jump on the Patreon and support me there, I'd be humbled and grateful. The website again is patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. If you are subscribing, or if you are listening to this podcast, I should say, through one of the big podcast services like Apple Podcasts or TuneIn or Spotify or YouTube Podcasts, do me a favor, click the follow button, or depending on the service, it might be a subscribe button. It's free either way. It doesn't cost anything. But what that does is anytime there's a new episode, which again is every Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, it will send you a push notification that a new episode is available. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to go, wait, when's the new Ride the Lightning? When should I check for that? No, your device will just let you know. So it's a nice, easy convenience thing, totally free. So on whatever podcast service you prefer, just click that follow button when you are on the Ride the Lightning podcast page. Finally, you can email me anytime. My Tesla email address is teslapodcast@gmail.com. And I'm on 2 social media networks. They would be X and Instagram. I have the same username on both, and that username is DMC_Ryan if you care to follow me on either of those. And before I go, I want to say hello and thank you to the top tier supporters on the Patreon. I'm going to start with the newest Roadster in Space tier backer, Rav. Thank you so much. Rav jumped up, was very kind to upgrade his pledge to the Roadster in Space tier. And as part of the Roadster in Space specific perk, in addition to all the other ones that you get, because the higher you go, they all stack. You get everything that's at your tier and below. So Rav gets a monthly one-on-one video call with me, if he elects to choose it. And he did take me up on that in his first month here. And we had a great conversation the other day, just talking all things Tesla, and really had a nice conversation there. So thank you to Rav for that pledge upgrade. Welcome to the Roadster in Space tier. And I want to say thank you and hello to the rest of the Roadster in Space crew. They are Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, Kristen Rumble, American Home Contractors, GetAmber.com, and Doug Carey. Next up, the Maximum Plaid tier backers. These folks, in addition to the early access every week and the weekly Lightning Round mini episode, and getting their names shouted out here, they get a standing invitation every month to the group Patreon Zoom Hangout, which I usually do the first Saturday of every month, unless there's a holiday or if I'm traveling. So that next one's going to be coming up here, our September one. So hello and thank you to the Maximum Plaid backers, Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Brett Libano, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Richard Corley, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, ContactOneCallCenter.com, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Michael Gallo, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Adam Christie, Damon Klein, and Jeff Brown. Finally, a hello and thank you goes out to the grandfathered in plaid level supporters. Thanks so much to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado. And with that, we've come to the end of Ride the Lightning episode 473. I've got a snoozing Mine of the Future service dog right at my feet. To my left, sprawled out, practically taking up the entire couch, snoring away, is Daisy the Boxer. They really, the two of them, I feel like this was the week they just clicked and decided to be buddies, because they weren't really playing together in the first couple weeks that we had Mina, but this week it's like Mina settled in and Daisy settled in as well, as far as like accepting her, and boy, they were really rumbling and tumbling in that fun doggy way, that fun puppy play way in the living room earlier while we were having dinner. So I hope you are having a wonderful day as you listen to this. Happy electric motoring, my friends, and I'll see you back here next week.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.